Have you ever wanted to guest on a podcast like this one that you're listening to right now? Well, you can. You can definitely do this by visiting a website called Podmatch, where you can sign up and be available for all different types of podcasts that you can guest on. Or you can even search for a podcast and say, I want to guest on your podcast. I think we'd be a good match. So if you want to do this, you can go to our unique link, which is joinpodmatch.com/reality, and you can sign up and do exactly that. And you can find us and you can guest on our podcast. So again, that unique link is www.joinpodmatch.com. That's joinpodmatch.com/reality, REALITEA, and you can be a guest on our podcast. Welcome to Reality Tea Times 2, the podcast where we discuss all the trash reality TV we love to hate. I'm Danica, and today we're going to be discussing The Other Way. So we actually don't have any memes to discuss in the episode. There will be one meme for The Other Way posted on our socials. We don't have any hot goss, so we're just going to jump right into the episode. Season 5, Episode 8, Mistrust, She Wrote. So first, we're with Holly and Wayne. So we're kind of right back where we left off, her running away. And I wrote, put your shoes on. Anyway, we're kind of with him, and he says, I know she gave up a lot for me, more than I have for her, but I'm under a lot of pressure. Okay, I think we kind of get a little bit of an explanation about this in a little bit. He says, I made a mistake. He's kind of very emotional here. He kind of starts crying, and he gets in his car and he drives right past her as she's kind of talking to production. She says, how am I going to marry someone, and kind of trails off and kind of goes on to say, he worries about my safety and he just leaves. Then she kind of realizes that, maybe I should put my shoes on because I might step on a needle. Why were your shoes ever off? I'm confused. Anyway. 30 minutes later, he does come back, and we kind of see her just kind of run over and hug him. She's obviously very relieved to see he came back, but he's also not really about being touched, I think, in this moment. I don't think it has anything to do with her. I think he's just ashamed. His emotions, he said, made him leave. So you did what she usually does. You bolted. You ran away from your situation. Cool. Anyway, he's regretting kind of everything, I guess. She thanks him for coming back. And she told him that, actually, we find out from him that she apparently told him that she would not be with someone who isn't financially stable. So this is partly why he decided to not tell her anything about the financial struggles he is now facing with the business, and that could have been a motivator into why he invested into crypto. Which is, I mean, I don't think women really think about what we say in the moment when we say it. However, I feel like I've learned a long time ago that yes, financial stability is important, but it's not a means to an end. And I guarantee she wouldn't leave him now at this point. She's in love with him. She wants to marry him. She's invested a lot of time, a lot of energy into the relationship. She's not going to leave now. But because she has said that before, that's something that is in his mind and he can't get rid of it. I'm not confused as to why he didn't tell her. He basically says to her that he will get over this hurdle by himself. She says that she wants to help him. He says, you are a part of my life, just not my business. And she says that she doesn't want to be a part of his business, but she wants to be his wife. And she makes a very good point here that if there are secrets in a relationship, eventually that's going to be the demise of the relationship. Again, he's very prideful. I think he also is dealing with the trauma of, for whatever reason, his previous relationship ended, and he blames the fact that there was no boundaries between the romantic side of things and the business side of things in their relationship. And these are just mistakes he doesn't want to make again, or, potential mistakes he doesn't want to make again. Because he doesn't want to lose Holly, he doesn't want to have another failed relationship. But she is saying that she doesn't necessarily want to be part of your business, but she wants to be able to know that you can come to her and tell her things that are going on, because that's what a husband and a wife would do, or just anyone in a relationship would do. And that's all she's asking for. And I don't think she's incorrect for asking for that. Him telling her that, the struggle is real right now because his business is not doing well, which means, financially I'm not doing well. That has nothing to do with the business, but it does have to do with how they live, what they can afford, and whatever the case may be. That is a factor into their married life. So he needs to find this common ground where he can keep the business to the business and not involve her in it if he doesn't want that, and be able to tell her when things aren't going as well as maybe he expects it to. Because she is going to be your wife. And then there's the extra layer of she does need to have some sort of comfort in knowing that she's going to be stable financially to whatever degree while living in South Africa. And that doesn't mean he needs to be where he was at before. That doesn't mean he needs to be rich. No one's saying any of those things, but I want to know that there's still something coming in. There has to be this happy medium. I don't know how they do that, but there needs to be a happy medium. Otherwise, you're going to the other extreme of things, and that can end your relationship. I don't know. But that's it for Holly and Wayne for this week. So next, Brandon and Mary. So we're, again, right back where we left off. And he ends up asking production for an inhaler. She has asthma, he says to them. So a medic comes over to her and helping her. I don't even know if they actually gave her an inhaler. I was assuming they did. And, the medic is kind of telling her to breathe, take deep breaths, get your breathing back under control. And we do see her starting to calm down. He says that he feels bad. He thinks that maybe he could have approached this situation a little more gently. Maybe, but I don't know if she would have responded well in any situation, no matter how he put it. Because I think Mary knows deep down that her behavior is abhorrent. I think she knows that it's not, it's something that maybe a normal person wouldn't put up with. And I think she wants to be able to stop. I really truly think she wants to be able to stop and trust him. But her brain, how she's wired, she's not able to. And I think that frustrates her. He says he was okay with this kind of controlling behavior that was going on while he was in the States. But now he's there and he doesn't want to put up with it. And then it kind of gets a little dark with what he says. So, trigger warning. I will also put this in the timestamp so you can pass this. So you'll know when to bypass this altogether. So I will do that. But this is trigger warning for suicide attempt and maybe ideation. So just blanket trigger warning on this conversation that Brandon kind of gets into. So it's starting now. He says when he met her, he was in a very low place and he did try to take his own life. He starts crying, and this hurt me, watching him be so raw on those emotions. It was very hard to watch. But he says when she messaged him, he says that it was the literal definition of a life changer. So read into that as you will. I think it's pretty evident what he's trying to say here. He says that the lack of trust, it's so hard because it brings him back to a feeling of not being good enough. And at this point, he is just really trying to hold it together and not have a mental breakdown. But you can kind of see he's at the brink of that. And he does say that it's really tough and he's trying to hold on. And it was so hard to see this young kid because he's a baby. At the end of the day, both of them are. They're both 23 years old. He is a baby. And to kind of see him just be in that moment and him kind of explaining like he didn't have anybody, he kind of explains that I think what maybe pushed him into this attempt was his girlfriend cheated and they had been together for a long time. And then you have his mother who's using, a father who doesn't seem to be very reliable and good father. And then he felt like he just wasn't good enough for himself either. So then this is where it could have led. And it's just so heartbreaking to see in this moment that he really is trying. And Mary's not making that easy for him, which is why then I get into these two should not be together. There is more trauma here than we knew originally with what he has just said. And it's just, I want to just say to them, it's okay to get the help, the the support that you need in order to be mentally okay. I'm not saying they need to break up, but I do think they need to take time away in order to focus on themselves, to be their best selves for themselves and for each other. And I know like there's discussion out there of, well, she lives in rural Philippines, she can't get like the therapy. She has an internet connection. Maybe it's not a stable one or a reliable one, but clearly it's reliable enough for her to be on the phone with Brandon for 24/7 before he moved there. I mean, and then again, there's also resources within. Usually there is. I'm not sure how the setup is here, but there's always some sort of resource in the church as well, if she wants to go that route. That can help with all the traumas that she's dealing with, and the same goes for him. But that's the end of the trigger warning. For that conversation, that doesn't come back up again. So that's it. And a trigger warning. So she's crying and says that it's just hard to stop. She says that she's trying to, but she just can't. And she's afraid that he will leave her because of it. I mean, this whole thing is just completely out of her control at this point. I don't think if she was maybe a little more mentally stable, I guess, I don't think she would be doing what she's doing with him. But that's just my thought. But he does come back to talk, and he says that he's sorry. And he asks, like, if there's anything that she wants to say. And she does say that she's sorry. However, he tells her to not be sorry. And it is in the moment he says that that's not what he wanted to hear. He needs like her to trust him, and he does have some doubts. So in the next scene, it's the next day. They're going for a walk to her high school. And she says that she does feel better today. And she says that they are definitely okay because she's okay. But she hopes that he understands it's hard to trust him. And she tells him like she's afraid of him leaving, and kind of what she's already kind of reiterated many times at this point. And she says, just give me time. But the problem is that she's not going to be able to do the work on her own. She needs the support of a professional to guide her in getting to a place where she can be happy just for herself. And that will exude everywhere else in her life. She's not going to be able to do this on her own. She is dealing with legitimate things that have impacted her very young life. So she says that she loves him, and he does get very emotional with what she's saying. She says a lot more than this, but the brunt of it is like she loves him and he's important to her and all of that. And he says that this really does mean a lot to him. So we'll see how it goes. But that is the end of Mary and Brandon for this week. Do you want to spice up your love life? Well, you can make that happen by going to Love Shop, where you can get sorts of different things, whether it's for both you and your partner or just for yourself. For solo play, you can get things, all types of vibrators, maybe more kinky type toys, or you can just buy what every person may need, like lingerie or protection, or even just something to make it a little more fun, like games or novelty things. You can do all of this by going to Love Shop, and you can use our unique coupon code RealityT2 to get 10% on anything your heart's desire. So that's loveshop.ca, loveshop.ca, and use our unique coupon code REALITY2. That's REALITEA and the number 2. Now we're with the new couple alerts. We have Sarper, and he's 43. He lives in Istanbul, Turkey, and Stanika, or I think I said that. I think in the other people. Shekinah. I think it's Shekinah. Anyway, she's 41 years old. And she lives in LA. So she tells us that as a side hustle, she is she co-hosts events or something, and she makes this just fucking great comment of she has to kind of bring attractive people to these events. Cool. Anyway, she says that she loves to shock people with how she was brought up. Apparently, she was raised Amish, and she grew up in Tennessee. She says that her parents weren't raised Amish, but they loved the lifestyle so much because other people in their life were Amish. So they went to the Amish lifestyle, and I said, okay. Anyway, she would be pretty rebellious, and she would color her nails with marker. She would wear makeup, and obviously none of this was okay in the Amish lifestyle. And she says that she wore her parents down to the point where they eventually just left the Amish. And I said, shit, okay. So she then tells us that she owns her own business. She's an esthetician. She has been licensed for 20 years. Because I was shocked because I actually didn't know her age initially when I first watched the episode. When she said 20 years, I said, oh, fuck, how old are you? And then when I found out the second time watching the episode that she's 41, I'm like, oh my God. I mean, that's plastic surgery, but she looks incredible anyway. I was shocked. Anyway, we see her meeting up with her friends. And Sarper is brought up. So this is where we learn a little more about him. So she tells us that she had a series of toxic relationships, and then she met Sarper. She says that Sarper is a model and a personal trainer. She thinks he's gorgeous, and I said, to each their own. Okay. And she said that, some couples, they had them at hello. No, they fucking didn't. This isn't Jerry Maguire. But anyway, she says that he had her at highlighter. So this is a makeup thing. Like, I don't actually wear makeup. But yeah, he apparently wore highlighter on the bridge of his nose or something on a date. Anyway, she thought that him wearing makeup was so cute. And I said, okay. Again, to each their own. She was so happy with the day she couldn't get him off her mind that she ended up going back to Turkey and spent a week with him. And this is where she tells us that their sex life is out of this world and cool. She says her connection is very strong with him, and that is why she's going to be moving to Turkey. We find out here because her friends ask the question, how long have you guys known each other? 5 months, she tells us. This is exactly what miserable bitch did. Knew the man for 5 months and then got married to him, and look how that's going. Anyway, her daughter will be going to a little thing called boarding school. So that's why she's going to take the advantage of going to Turkey. Her friend Shauna says that all the guys that she has been with, he's not really trying to change her or anything. Well, hold on. Wendy has something to say about that. She says, I don't know about that. And apparently he told her she has to weigh a certain weight. So I believe the weight is 128 pounds. She has to change her makeup, he tells her. And she also has to change the color of her hair. Who the fuck is this guy? She says that she got a personal trainer there in LA and she wanted to gain muscle, but he doesn't really like that kind of look. He wants her to be lean. And I said, yeah. Forget it. I'm not even going to say, but like, you're not exactly the greatest looking guy that I've seen ever, especially on the show. So, yeah, go fuck yourself. She says here that, her past relationships has really taught her some valuable lessons. And I said, yeah, you're not applying them clearly because you're willing to settle for this fucking turd of a man who's telling you how much you should weigh, how your makeup should look, how hair color you should have. He's disgusting. She says that if she doesn't take this risk, she will never find something like this again. And I said, it's probably for the better that if you just didn't find something like that again, because he's not a fucking prize by the sounds of things. Anyway, in the next scene, we see this dude. His name is Dan. It's really Dan. And he wants to talk to her alone. This was so sad to watch in a different way. He tells her they have been so close, I guess, whatever. But he says he really still does love her. A pardon? He thinks that they should be together. And I said, this is when you tell her, which is in another relationship. It's pretty fucking sad. Anyway, she says that he is so perfect. She says this in the moment. He's a perfect catch. Clearly for someone else. Because she fucking friend zones him in this moment. She says that they apparently did try to date, but it just didn't feel right. And I'll tell you why it didn't feel right, because he's not bad boy enough for her. That's her kink. She needs this bad boy thing. Someone who's gonna whip her around, and Dan does not seem like he's the type. And I think that's the problem. And that's her problem. I think personally he's probably dodging a bullet. He doesn't necessarily hope that the relationship ends. Sure, you don't. But he says that, he hopes that she opens her eyes. And she says, I can't do that. She's clearly invested in Sarper. So she's never going to be able to have her eyes open because her eyes are tunnel visioned on him. Anyway, she then says she loves Dan. And I said, that's You can't tell this man that. He's like in love with you. Anyway, he says that, he'll always be there for her. This was so sad and pathetic to watch. But anyways, that's it for our new couple, Sarper and Shanika, whatever. Next, we're with Miserable Bitch and Yohan. Lisette and Sandra are gone. That's so sad. Bring them back, please. Anyway, she's sad about it, but they're going to be going to a fertility clinic today. They're going to the same doctor that we saw back in Love in Paradise, her first season of Love in Paradise. She tells the doctor that she's been working on balancing her hormones naturally, but clearly nothing has worked. And I said, when you're in your fucking 40s and you are now outside of the prime of having children, that's just the reality of things. Balancing out your hormones naturally ain't gonna do shit. And this is coming from a person who deals with hormonal issues. I have, full disclosure, I have PCOS. And with PCOS, for me anyways, I have hormonal imbalances. It's not easy. But I feel like it's just not going to make a difference when you're just past that point of childbearing years. But anyway, they end up now discussing like the process of picking out an egg donor. Apparently they would pick out a donor who kind of closely matches how like she looks. And then Yohan, Yohan, asks the doctor, since she's going to be carrying the egg, would the baby get any of her traits? No, they wouldn't. Because the genetics are in the egg and the sperm. This is not her egg. So how could that happen? Like her blood would run through this child, but genetically, biologically, it's not her child. And I thought, like, if this man doesn't even know the basics of how things work, and just forget the fertility aspect of things, he doesn't know the basics of anything. And I feel like, should you be having a child if you don't even know? I mean, maybe that's just me thinking from, maybe a more privileged aspect of things. But I feel like that's also just common sense, but I don't know. I was shocked by his question. Anyway, he then says that it bothers him that this baby won't be her. Like, it won't have her eyes or, her nose. But he doesn't want the baby to have her temperament. She then says, like the dum-dum she fucking is, says that she wants the donor to be a Harvard-educated person. And I said, the chances of you finding someone who's Harvard-educated, even in the fucking States, who's an egg donor, is not going to be that fucking easy. So how in the world do you think you're going to get that in fucking Dominican Republic? She has high expectations, she says. And yet here you are, no longer a teacher. You're bankrupt, running away from your debt. But you have high expectations. Go fuck yourself. Anyway, she says that she could care less about how the donor looks. Okay, that's fine. I'm nothing to say there. She then says, like, when would I be inseminated? You're not being inseminated. That's the wrong term. As he says, it's an egg transfer. Anyway, he says, obviously, like, not obviously, but he says here that, with the process of, fertilizing the eggs, they could potentially have about 6 to 8 embryos. He tells them that they could start the process in as quickly as 15 days. Not bad. Not bad at all. He then says, if you were to start today, the chances of success would be 65 to 70%. However, he suggests that it be done quickly because the longer she waits, the more her chances will dwindle. He then says that the process will cost $11,500. $1,000 of that will be going to the donor. I think that's fucking amazing. But of course, she says that they don't have it. And she says that they would have to figure out how to pay for it. In other words, she will have to find out how to pay for it. Any way for her to get a dig. Anyway, she says that they have fundamental differences and they're going to have to obviously work through that. So in the next scene, they're back in the car. I guess they're going home. And he feels excited about the prospect of him becoming a father soon. She's nervous. She says that they need to be on the same page with things. And then in English, and I said, he doesn't fucking know what you're saying, which is why you said it in fucking English. But she says, if we were on the same page, if we are not on the same page, it doesn't matter how much money they have. And I said, so what the fuck have y'all been doing for, what is it now, a year and a half that you guys have been together? What the fuck have you been doing besides fucking? This is when you have conversations about how you're going to raise this child. But I guess I'm asking too much, I guess. I don't know. She tells him, I think you really do want to be a father to play. He smiles at this, but then she just brings it all down. And she says, you want to you don't do all the good things. He says, yes. And she says, but there are difficult things too. And he asks, what? And I said, okay, come on, Yohan. It's not all sunshine and roses with a kid. She says that he's not understanding, what a child needs are going to be. She says, what a child needs to, stay alive, but he doesn't know what is needed to have a child thrive. Okay, this is what she's saying, I think she's saying that in the moment, that again, she could be saying it to Yohan. Nothing stops this woman. And she goes on to say, you have no responsibilities as an uncle. And he says, he has had to take care of his nephews. Anyway, she doesn't think what they expect or anything like that, whatever, is aligning, which is important. And I do understand, yes, that's important. But that's why you have the conversations before you go off and have a kid. Then in this moment, he drives over a pothole and just shakes her world up. And I said, that was fucking great. Do it again. She was so irritated and I loved every minute of it. She then asks, what time does children go to bed in your house? He says at 9 p.m. And she says, no, I've been in your home. I would never seen a child go to bed that early. She says a baby at his house wouldn't go to bed until 10, 11, or 12 at night. And I said, okay, but they're babies. As long as they're sleeping. mean, I know there are people out there who try to put their children on schedules, and maybe for some it succeeds, but every baby is different. And as long as they don't have to work the next day or anything like that, obviously you wouldn't be if you're on mat leave, let the child, this is what I'll say, I'm not going to stress myself over putting my child on a schedule. Eventually they will get there. But we were talking about fucking babies here. They control you, not the other way around. Anyway, she says a schedule is necessary. For who? For you? Because she makes it about the baby, but I don't fucking buy it. And he says, you don't like how my family raises kids? And she says, no, I didn't say that. You didn't have to. He finds that this is offensive to him. He says, just because we may raise kids differently here doesn't mean our way is bad. 100%. He's alive, ain't he? These other children are alive, aren't they? And happy and thriving. The problem is that this woman wants to act like she's a fucking professional. You have one child who you clearly don't have much of a great relationship with, according to what I've heard. And you didn't make a lot of great choices with, according to what I've heard. You're not a fucking professional. Their mistakes are made and you'll learn from them. But every child is different. Anyway. She says that, the baby has basic needs. And she says, they need to have spirituality. Do you think your fucking kids at a certain point care about spirituality or religion or any of those things? Not when they're a fucking baby, anyway. They need education, sports, blah, blah, blah. He knows all of this, and she then kind of just says, I'm frustrated. She said they're not getting each other. She said, how can they have a child? They're not on the same page, blah, blah, blah. And obviously, they need to figure this out. And again, I say, you could have figured this out before you married him. I don't know. That's just me. I really have nothing more to say on these two dum-dums, but yeah, that's it for Miserable Bitch and Yohan. So next time on, we see that Brandon says that he doesn't think they're going to be able to have enough to pay for the bills next month. And he says, maybe asking for help. Spoiler alert, she's not thrilled. Sarper says that he's potentially been with 2,500 women. Ew. That's fucking disgusting. That has to be an exaggeration to some extent, but I'm sure it's up there in number. Anyway, he says he's a playboy, and he says, to keep her in his life, he has to leave that lifestyle behind. We have more of Julio's shit, saying that he, can't give her an answer after 3 months, and she's pressuring him, blah, 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 and he starts laughing at her, and she's frustrated, and I'm just in the words of Wanda Sykes in Monster-in-Law, I am sick of your shit. And when I'm not sick, I'm tired. I'm sick and tired of Julio. This fucking guy. Anyway. And then we have more of this other fucking guy. Yash's shit. And we see TJ is just pissed. And she kind of walks away and says that she doesn't want to live in a toxic environment. And I don't blame her. But that is it for The Other Way for this week. So if you like what you heard, please follow Reality Tea ×2 on any of your favorite podcast apps so that you don't miss a single episode. Please make sure you also share the podcast with everyone in your life. You can also rate and review us on either Spotify or Apple Podcasts. If you are an avid YouTube user, you can listen to us on YouTube at Reality Tea ×2. If you want to connect with us, you can do so by following us on either Facebook, Instagram, or Threads at Reality Tea ×2. You can also email us at realitytea2@hotmail.com. We have a website where you can listen to all of these episodes, as well as get links to our Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube pages, and that is at realitytea2.aludu.com. All of that information will be in our show notes. Well, that's it for now, guys. Thanks. Bye. Have you ever thought of starting your very own podcast? Doing the research, I found something that would have made editing easy and seamless and makes the podcasting experience just that much easier. And I am talking about Aludu. This is a podcast software that I use for our editing of our episodes. It is amazing. It is easy. You're also able to get help from doing chats and getting the information that maybe you just need a little more help with. They also have access to different articles that can also help you that have been just godsends for me. Also with Aludu, you can create clips, you can do your ads, that's like this very one I'm doing right now, and you can create your trailer very seamlessly just by clicks of buttons. You can also use Aludu to publish your episodes just straight from the software. It's so easy. I highly, highly recommend it. You can get access to Aludu by using our unique link, which you can find on our show notes, just down there at the bottom at the show notes. And you can get access to an easy software